Hi, my name is Rich Evans and I'm going to make you a short video just to show you how to do some of the basic features on a graphing calculator. I'm using a TI-84 Plus and I'm going to just show how to do some calculations, making tables, some graphing, how to solve equations, and just the basics to get you started. And after you watch this video, you should be able to do the homework on graphing calculators that's located in my math lab in the handout / projects tab. So let's start with problem 1a. In problem 1a, you see we're just adding some fractions, 1/2 plus 3/4 minus 5/8. So to do that, we can just enter that right in the calculator. Let me clear this first. So 1/2, we would do 1 divided by 2, and then plus, and then 3 divided by 4, and then minus 5 divided by 8. And if we hit enter, it will perform those calculations. The order of operations will be fine because it'll do the divisions before the addition and subtraction. And we want our answer as a fraction, as you can see from the instructions. So what we can do to get that is we can hit the math key, and then you see this option that says convert it to a fraction. We'll hit enter, and then we'll just hit enter one more time. And so the answer would be 5/8. So for part A, our answer would be 5/8. Let's go on to B. So for B, we'll do 5 plus the square root, which is located right there. So you have to push the second button and then the x squared key, and then 64. Okay, now I'm going to hit enter to get that answer because we want it to do that addition before it divides by 8. And then I'll say divided by 8. So again, that's a decimal. We can convert that back to a fraction by hitting math and then the enter twice. So the answer would be 13/8 for B. In this next one, to get the order of operations to be correct here, I'm going to use parentheses around each fraction. So we'll have a parenthesis, and then 3 divided by 8, close the parenthesis, divided that by another set of parentheses, 15 divided by 16. And then if we hit enter, we'll get that answer. Again, that's a decimal, so to get the fraction, we hit math, enter, enter. So 2/5 would be our answer for part C. This next one, we have 48 to the negative 3/4 power. So we'd have 48. This little button here raises something to a power, so raise to the power of. And then we have negative 3 divided by 4 as the power. And then hit enter. We get this decimal, math, enter, enter. Okay, in this case, we are not going to get a fractional answer. So we would just write that as the answer, 0.054836, or round it off to whatever level the instructions would have said. Now let's go on to E. So for E, we can do the numerator all at once. So we'll do negative 5 plus the square root. And then under the square root, we have 5 squared. So 5. To square something, you can just use this x squared key. And then minus 4 times 6 times negative 2. And I'm going to hit enter to get that answer. And then that whole thing has to get divided by 2 times 6. So divided by 12, really. And that would be the answer. And that's not, well, we can try to convert that to a fraction, but no, that's not going to convert to a fraction. So again, you just leave your answer as a decimal for that one. Some numbers can't be changed to a fraction because they're irrational numbers. So it's impossible to write them as a fraction. This expression that we just did looks like something that came from the quadratic formula. And sometimes that happens. Alright, so let's go on to this next section here. This is a little different. This is using a table to find y values for a certain function when you have an x and a y. So notice the x's are given and we're supposed to find the y's. And here's the function up here, y equals negative 2x plus 5. So you can just plug the numbers in one at a time for x and work out your answer, but there's a lot faster way to do it. And it's using the table feature. So we start by pressing y equals right here. And if there's anything already in there, just clear it out and type in your new function, negative 2x plus 5. Make sure to use this for your negative sign, not the subtraction symbol. There's two different symbols, a negative and a minus. So if you want negative, you have to use this one. So negative 2, here's your x key right here. It says xt theta n, and then plus 5. Once you get your function in there, now you have to set your table up. If you look right above this window key, it says table set. It's a little hard to see on my screen. But to get that, you do second and then the window. And this is what allows you to set your table up. Now, in this first case, we want to start at negative 2. So put in negative 2 as your start. And then we want it to go up by 1 each time as we go down. So this delta table, that's how much you're changing by, is 1. And you want these on automatic. Okay? So once you get that set up, now you just do second and then the graph. Notice right above the graph key it should say table. So second and then graph to get the table. Now you can just fill this in. So for when x is negative 2, y is 9. So you'd write a 9 right here. And then when x is negative 1, y is 7. So you'd write a 7 right there. And then 5, 3, and then the last one would be 1. Okay? And you can also scroll these up or down if you want even more values. But for our table, we didn't need any more. For this next table, notice we want to do a similar thing, but this time start at 40 and go up by 5. So we'll do, we'll set it up to start at 40 and go up by 5. And then we do second table. And we get those answers. And again, you could just write them in, negative 75, negative 85, etc. In this last table, notice they don't go by any amount each time. They're kind of scattered around random numbers. So for that, when we do our table set, we want to go down here and put this independent, which is your x, on ask. Okay? Now when you do second table, you're going to be able to enter in your x. So if you enter in negative 18, it'll give you that answer. If you enter in 23, it'll give you that answer. If you enter in 106, you'll get that one. 5 divided by 4, and you'll get that one. And then 12.43. So notice you just do them one at a time. Okay? So that's when the table set is set to ask, that you'll get them one at a time like that. Okay, generally we want that on auto most of the time, so I'm going to switch it back to that right now. Okay, if I want to get out of a screen, I do second and then quit. Brings you back to your normal screen, and if you want to clear it, you just hit clear. Alright, next we want to graph a function, but the key thing to graphing a function on a graphing calculator is making sure your window is set up correctly. Notice these numbers over here. This will affect how the graph looks. So we want to start by entering our function in. So we push y equals negative 2x plus 5. That's already in there. So you really can just hit graph. But sometimes when you just hit graph, you don't get a very good picture. I'm going to go ahead and hit graph and see what happens. That is a good picture. All right, it's a straight line. I can get a pretty good look at it. So that's fine just the way it is. So the window, if I press the window key, notice right now it's set to x min is negative 10, x max is 10, x scale is 1, y min is negative 10, y max is 10, and y scale is 1. and you should always leave the resolution at 1. This is your standard window. In fact, if you ever want to get back to this setting, you can do zoom and then number 6 says standard. So just hit the 6. And that'll always take you to that window setting. That just goes from -10 to 10 in both the X and the Y direction. And that works good for this example. All right, let's scroll down to the next function. The function is y equals 3x squared plus 11. So if I go over to my calculator, I'm going to clear out the other one and put this one in. 3x squared. Whoops. Let me back up there. 3x squared plus 11. Okay, and if I just hit graph, notice I don't get a very good picture. And the reason for this is because this has been shifted up 11 units, but the y-axis only goes up to 10. So if I hit my window key, I want my y max to go a lot higher than 10. I'm going to put in 30. There's no right or wrong number to use. And then hit graph. That's a much better picture. So I could go ahead and sketch that in here. Okay, just with a pencil I could kind of duplicate that shape. And then for the window settings, it would be -10 to 10 by 1s and -10 to 30 by 1s. Again, this isn't the only right answer. Someone else might decide to use the y min to be 0. That would certainly be a good choice too. And then if you graphed it, it looks a little different, but still is a good picture. Okay, so there's not only one right answer for this, but the idea is you want to see the graph, the entire important features of the graph. This is a parabola, so you want to see the whole parabola. Let's go down to the next function. We have a fraction this time, x plus 1 divided by x minus 3. So I'll clear this out. We're going to have to put each one in parentheses so that the order of operations is correct on this one. That can be a little tricky. People sometimes forget to do that and they get the wrong function. Okay, so I've got my function in there. Whoops, that's supposed to be a -3. Let me fix that. Okay, so x plus 1 over x minus 3. I'm just going to do a zoom 6 to see what I get. And if it's... Okay, that's a good graph. So the window on that should just go from -10 to 10 in both directions. So I copy that down. There's no need to change that because that's a good looking graph right there. I can see all the important features. All right, let's move down to the next one. And we'll enter that in. All right, so it's 0.002 x squared minus 0.0015x. I'm going to go ahead and hit graph and see what happens. It's not a very good picture. Okay, so I'm going to try to figure out what to do. This should be a parabola again, but I can't really see it very well. So I'm going to just try to change this to the y numbers to a -1 to a 1. I'm guessing a little here. See if I can see it any better. That did improve it. I can actually see the parabola now. In fact, I could even change the x numbers so I can see a little farther left and right. Maybe go from -20 up to 20 on the x-axis. Graph that. And that's a good picture. So to write down my window settings, I've just hit this window key and it would be -20 to 20 by 1s and -1 to 1 by 1s. Okay, so for these last couple of problems, I'm going to do this in a separate video. It'll be part 2 of this video. So I'm going to end this one now, and then to see problems 4 and 5, just watch the second video.